Hey, it's Adrian, and today I'm taking a look at this Redragon Fizz K617M magnetic gaming keyboard. You get up to 8K polling, adjustable magnetic switch actuations from 0.1 millimeters all the way to 4 millimeters, and of course there's a ton of gaming functions such as rapid trigger, toggle keys, multi-tap, and dynamic keystroke. And while the keyboard is great for gaming, it does fall short in a couple of other areas that may or may not be deal breakers to you, so let's take a closer look at how well it performs, and a big thanks to Redragon for sending this out for review. In the box, we have the Fizz K617M magnetic keyboard, some stickers, quick start guide, keycap and switch puller, USB Type-C to Type-A cable, and 4 additional switches. The design on the Fizz K617M keyboard is pretty minimal. Now we have this type of gradient effect that starts with this kind of, light gray that cascades down to a much darker gray. And you can see as I angulate it like that, you can see that gradient cascading. So that does look very sharp and nice. Now, if we look on the left side, this is where we have the USB Type-C port because this is a wired only keyboard. There is no wireless mode. But then taking a look at the top, pretty much all a plastic build all the way around. And then we do have the Redragon logo at the bottom right corner here. Now, taking a look at the rear, we have rubber feet to help keep this planted. Now, the bottom of here is textured. It's not exactly a hard plastic. It's kind of in between, so it's a little bit rubberized to keep the keyboard planted. And you have a one-stage adjustment feet and, a little bit of padding here to keep this kind of planted. So let's see. So you can see it's not super easy to shift it around because of the rubber padding. So that works fairly well. Click those back in. Now the weight on this is about 533 grams from when I weighed it, so it's quite lightweight. And in terms of build quality, so if I just kind of flex it and kind of twist it, you can see I'm not really having much luck twisting this, and I can't hear any type of creaking and flexing. So even though it is lightweight and a mostly plastic build, it actually feels very rigid and sturdy so far. So we have 61 keycaps in this 60% layout, and we do have north-facing LEDs which shine through double shot keycaps. Now, one thing that I noticed right away is that the RGB looks really good on here, and you could see it shines through the letters. However, the secondary functions, when you press the FN key, it doesn't actually shine through those, so I could see these being a bit challenging to read in dim environments. And here's a side view of the keycap profiles. Here's a quick look at some of the specs. Feel free to pause or jump ahead to the next section. So you can hear from that typing demo that the keyboard is actually fairly loud when you're typing. So if you're going to be gaming late at night and someone's kind of sleeping nearby, there is a chance they're going to hear it, especially if you're going hard at it. However, when it comes to the typing experience, it is actually enjoyable for me. So the keys have a good travel distance, they bounce back nicely, and my key presses are very planted. The other thing I noticed is that the keycaps have a kind of matte type of finish that I really like versus, super smooth type of finishes. So yeah, it's a fairly planted typing experience. One potential deal breaker with the Fizz keyboard is that the magnetic switches are not hot swappable. So anytime you need to replace them, you will have to use Redragon's own magnetic switches. I've cut the lights to show the RGB effect a little bit better, and it looks really nice up close and in person. They've done a good job with it. Now, if you're not a fan of RGB, you could hit function and space. That's gonna cut it, and then you could turn it right back on. Now, to switch between the different RGB modes, you would hit function and right alt, and you could see it's gonna cycle through the various modes on here. So it's very easy to manage. And then to adjust the brightness, you'll hit function and M, and it's gonna cycle through different type of brightness levels. The speed can also be adjusted by hitting function and the left angle bracket here. And you can see it's a very slow rotation, and it speeds up, so you have 5 different levels to cycle through. You also have the option to have certain keys light up. So I've set the escape, WASD, and spacebar to light up, and you can easily do that by hitting function, backspace, and then you can go ahead, press the keys that you'd like to light up, hit function and backspace again, and you're set. Let me demonstrate the dynamic keystroke function in the Redragon software. So what this allows you to do is to program up to 4 different actions on one key. So in this case, I'm going to be using left shift. So I'm playing Quake Champions, And you can see anytime you press forward on W, it's going to be running. To walk, you have to press down on left shift. So I've programmed it so that when I press down lightly on left shift, instead of pressing down all the way, my character walks. And if I press down and bottom it out, my character crouches. And once I let go of left shift, my character jumps. So you can see I have basically 3 actions in left switch. So again, I'll just demo. So running, walking, crouching, jumping. So basically any type of game you're playing, this has a ton of versatility because in one single key, you can program up to 4 different actions, or you can pick up to 2 actions if you like, but I'll demonstrate another feature. Now, to actually activate the dynamic keystroke, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go into the Redragon software here. We're gonna click on senior keys, and you can see it's set to DKS, and this is how I've kind of set it up. So if from 0.1 millimeter to 3.6, it's gonna be left shift, and then in the 3.6 millimeter range, it's gonna be crouch if I go past that. And then once I actually let go of it, it's going to be space, which is jump in Quake Champions. Now, once you've set that up, and let's go back to that, you can see it's called DKS1 here. So it shows left shift, crouch, space. We have to actually apply it. Now you're going to go to this first icon here, key custom, click on the left shift button, and then we're going to go to senior keys here. Set it to DKS1, which is what I showed earlier, and then you're going to click download to kind of apply it to the keyboard, and it's that simple. And while we're in here, let's take a look at MT, and you can see it says you could have 2 functions. So holding down the key is one function, and clicking or tapping the key is the second function. So I've already created that. It's called MT2. So if I tap on C, or sorry, hold down on C, it's going to act as crouch, and if I just tap on it, it's going to act as space, which is to jump. So now if we go back into Quake, you can see if I hold down C, it's actually crouching, so I could go ahead and move while crouch. But if I tap on it, I'm gonna jump. So by saving, one keystroke, I don't actually have to move my finger. I could just hold down to crouch or just tap on it to jump. So that can really make your gaming way more efficient and quicker, either crouching or just going and jumping. And let's take a look at the next function here, which is TGL, or toggle key. So this is what you could use to switch from continuous triggering on or off. Now I've set toggle to be P, and I've set P to also jump just to showcase this in the game. So let's go back into here so you can see I'm moving. Now if I go ahead and tap on P, it's going to keep jumping until I press on it again, and now it's going to go back to normal. If I press on it again, it's going to keep jumping, so you can easily toggle that on or off. Let's take a look at the trigger function, or rapid trigger. So we're going to go into trigger settings, the second icon here, and you can see if I click on Q, it's showing a 0.1 millimeter actuation. Same with W, same with E. R is going to be 2, T 2, Y 2, and then U is going to be 4. Now you can do these independently, so I could click on I, move this to 0.1, hit apply, and it's going to say calibration successful. Or if I could just click on a bunch of these at once, so slide it up, click apply, and once I click back on it, you can see it's keeping that setting. But let's test that out to see if it made a real world difference. So Q, W, and E, these are going to be very quick actuations. So if I gently press, you can see I barely press the key down and it's easily registering that Q. Same with W, again, very minimal presses and it's registering. Now R is a 2 millimeter actuation, so if I lightly press the same amount, it didn't go anywhere, I have to press a little bit more to get that key press. Now with T, I'm pressing, I believe, about the same as R, but T is taking a longer travel distance to actually register that key press, which you're seeing there. So if I go back here, let me confirm, T is 2, but for whatever reason, I'm still having to travel further on T than I did on R, even though they're set to exactly 2 millimeters. But let's go ahead and do this with Y. And Y seems about the same as with R. And let's go back to T. And I find that I almost have to bottom this out on T. Now if we go to U, this is 4, so I do have to bottom U out, and let's test that out. So U, yes, and this makes sense. I do actually have to bottom it out to register the key press. So for some of these keys, you may find that issue where, certain keys, even though they're quite responsive on other keys, even though the actuation distance is the same, it seems that there's a little bit of variance in terms of how much you're actually pressing the key down. And to show you just how much of a difference it makes, take a look at the D key, so the right key. So it's set to 0.1. If I go to A, it's going to be set to 2 millimeters. And let's go into the game. So you can see if I tap lightly on D, I could kind of move very smoothly, like if I just held it down, but I could just go in very small increments. If I try to do the same on A with the 2 millimeter actuation, so here's me tapping it, and you can see the movements are very stuttery, not very smooth. However, with D, it's almost like if I'm holding it down, but it's just actuating so quickly compared to A versus D. So it makes quite a huge difference. And then additionally, you could click on a key, go ahead, set the quick trigger. You could also turn on this option here for journey of pressing and releasing, and set different values for a press trigger and a release, and you can go all the way up to 2 millimeters with this setting. Whenever you're gaming, you could disable the Windows key by hitting Function and Windows, and then the same to re-enable it. Let's take a look at the rest of the options. So when you open the app up, you're going to see the keyboard. You could click on one of the keys and cycle through. So here is the default, remap the keys, senior keys, which I showed, key combination, macro, mouse commands, text. You could disable keys, multimedia commands, shortcuts, launch applications, keyboard light, and key config. And you could also take a look at the FN layer as well. Now, we took a look at the triggering settings, senior keys, how to set that up, and then we could go into light settings. You can go ahead and pick the type of effect that you want. So we're on wave right now. You could pick auto ripple or whichever one you like, and then change the brightness, speed, the direction of them, and the colors that are being used. And then under performance, you could disable the Windows key if you like. Of course, you could do this with the keyboard command. So the Redragon Fizz K617M magnetic keyboard is a great value if you have realistic expectations. While it doesn't have outstanding materials and the heft you would find in more premium keyboards, or a big focus on the typing experience, if you are looking for a magnetic gaming keyboard, it definitely delivers in terms of versatility when it comes to rapid trigger, the dynamic keystroke, toggle keys, multi-tap keys, and more. So if you're looking to start your journey with magnetic gaming keyboards, this is a great place to start, and I'll leave links down below to check out this keyboard or to pick one up for yourself. If you found this review helpful, don't forget to check out some of my other keyboard reviews. I have a bunch of other reviews on gaming keyboards and keyboards for the typing experience. And don't forget to check out some of my other tech reviews. I review a bunch of different tech products on this channel. I'm sure you'll find something else that you like. And if I can ask a huge favor, would you mind liking and subscribing? It truly does help me out as a growing channel. And I'll see you in the next one soon.